everybody, welcome back to Typical City. Rodri is the main man at Manchester City. I think we can all agree on that. But the cover for Rodri has very much been a hot topic for Manchester City fans throughout this summer. But there are two potential deals being given to Manchester City first team players. 2 players, to be precise, that would be absolutely fantastic news. And one of those players, if this becomes a truth and he signs and puts ink on the paper to become a Manchester City player well into his 30s, would be the best news of the whole transfer window. Let's start with the first tweet, and this comes from Real Tolmy's Hairdo. Go and subscribe or go and follow the Real Tolmy Hairdo on X if you don't already. I highly recommend it. He's got his ear to the ground with little tidbits of information around Manchester City. Someone you should absolutely be following if you're a Manchester City fan, so go and do that first. But the first tweet is around Ederson. Ederson is poised to see his current salary boosted to £200,000 a week. City will look to acknowledge him turning his back on a life-changing sum from Saudi in the coming weeks, which is absolutely fantastic. The way the club would reward him for such a thing. I mean, I think Ederson deserves £200,000 a week, full stop. Forgetting the fact that he's turned down money from abroad, from Saudi. Forget that. He deserves £200,000 a week regardless for me. I think Ortega's on his heels. I think it's close, you know. Who is the number one goalkeeper at Manchester City? For me, Ederson just edges it. I think the full package of Ederson, the distribution and how important distribution is for Pep and for Manchester City makes Ederson the number one still for me. But shot-stopping ability, Ortega just edges it a little bit. So we may see a little bit of Brighton's approach. We see them change their keeper game in, game out, you know, so we could see a little bit of chopping and changing this season depending on the opposition potentially, which could be interesting. Now, on to the next tweet. Or X, whatever. Who gives a shit? City plan to sit down with Rodri in the coming weeks and offer him a deal which will see him earn parity alongside KDB and Erling Haaland on £5,000 a week before match day bonuses, which is brilliant news. This would be monumental news for Manchester City and surpasses any sort of transfer news that's been out there regarding even Savio, which is brilliant news. Savio's a fantastic player that looks like he's going to be a superstar at Manchester City. Cover for Rodri. The reason we're so panicked for cover for Rodri is because we need cover for Rodri, and Rodri is Rodri. This is the reason why we're so panicked about the cover, is because Rodri's so bloody good. So maybe rather focusing on the cover for Rodri, we shift focusing to making sure Rodri is a Manchester City player well into his 30s. Seems more of a priority to me. I think that's way more important. Way more important. Because if Real Madrid come knocking for Rodri, it'll be hard to turn down. You know, the Carvajal comments after the Euros was... I mean, that's just a bit of hearsay, wasn't it? A bit of stuff in jest. Carvajal saying that he keeps trying to persuade him to come to Real Madrid. I feel like that's a bit of a joke. But Rodri is someone that Manchester City could tie down and still have him playing in his peak well into his 30s, because this player is going to age like a fine wine. I promise you that. This player, as long as injuries don't play a part, he is someone that does not depend on speed. A little bit of athleticism, more his strength than his speed, than his ability to cover ground. That's never been his strong point. His strength is one of his strong points, and his technical ability and his footballing IQ, second to none. One of the best, or the best midfielder in the world right now for me, and well on the cards for winning this year's Ballon d'Or. So the idea of City signing this player to a new contract that could keep him well into his 30s, fantastic. He's 27. He's just entered his peak. So this is fantastic news and would be bigger news than any cover for Rodri, any new signing. This is potentially signing the Ballon d'Or winner, the upcoming Ballon d'Or winner, or the current favourite for the Ballon d'Or. And signing him to a new contract is a statement in itself. And it would calm a lot of nerves, it would relax a lot of any sort of speculation about Rodri's future. Fantastic, because it will come. The Ballon d'Or being given to Rodri will start Real Madrid to come calling. All the headlines will be Rodri's on his way out, trying to stir the pot a little bit. You know it's coming, but a new contract kills that. And that would be great news. Now, he's been busy, the Real told me. He's been absolutely busy. I think he's just turned his phone on, because I think he just went bang, 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 bang with a load of tweets, and I think he opened his phone to a lot of information from his source. And he's provided us with lots of juicy bits of information. So here we are, on to the next tweet. City's plan was to wait another 12 months before making any move on Crystal Palace and England midfielder Adam Wharton, not Eberechi Eze, which is, I think, the name that a lot of City fans were expecting to see after the words Crystal Palace and England midfielder. Not Eberechi Eze, Adam Wharton. There are strong voices at the Etihad, and Cheeky is a massive advocate, which could yet bring it forward this window. We could have cover for Rodri this window, but City are going to have to pay big, because I can't remember rightly. I rushed to my camera to talk about this because there was so much excitement bursting out of me. More about Rodri signing a contract, to be honest, than Adam Wharton. But I'm pretty certain Adam Wharton's contract takes him into 2028 currently at Crystal Palace. So if we were to sign Adam Wharton, you're talking close to 100 million. I would say pretty much all of that Alvarez money would have to go onto this deal. That would, I know City have got a war chest there, the money's there, but would we have to wait the 12 months? I think City are probably going to wait the 12 months, but Real told me, said it himself, that Cheeky, being such a big advocate, could push this deal forward into this window, which would make the price even more expensive. I think even in 2028, going into next summer, we'd still have to pay quite big. I did do a comparison video, which you can go and check the statistics of, because I did a comparison of João Neves, I think Kovacic was in there, Bruno Guimaraes, Joshua Kimmich, Adam Wharton, because I've always considered him as a possible defensive midfielder for Manchester City. Right now, his figures aren't quite up to the levels of Bruno Guimaraes or Joshua Kimmich, for example, because, I mean, you're talking about age and just being cemented as first-team regulars for 5 or 6 years, Bruno Guimaraes, and over a decade for Joshua Kimmich. Adam Wharton's, I think he's just turned 20, 21, if memory serves me. So he's a kid. Very similar numbers to João Neves, and he's just made his big move as well. So Adam Wharton could be the potential cover for Manchester City, which I don't have a problem with. I think there's more questions that would need answering about his ability long-term for cover for Rodri, for example. But are City looking at the English factor as well, ticking that box, you know, that needs ticking, the English quota, being able to legally play football with the right amount of English players? The rules state that we have to do that. So Adam Wharton ticks that box. It'd be interesting. Blues, get in the comments below and let me know, what do you think about Adam Wharton as a potential cover for Rodri? I know the name of it's not going to attract a lot of people. I mean, if he was called Adam Whartinho, I'm pretty sure most people go, ho, sign him up. But the name Adam Wharton sounds more like a maths teacher, doesn't he, than a footballer. But we'll have to wait and see what he's like in a Manchester City shirt if that day ever comes. We'll have to wait and see. The next tweet from Real told me, City would also like to bring in a direct striker replacement for Alvarez. It might not be be a stellar name, and could even be an initial loan. An initial loan? Who would that be? Just names. I'm struggling for names here, thinking of a loan deal. You're talking about a youngster, probably, maybe picking someone out from the South American leagues, possibly. And following on from the same sort of subject as well, Real Tommy also said, in recent days, City has fielded calls from agents, which has seen more than a dozen strikers offered to Manchester City, which is obviously in the wake of the Alvarez news, which, by the way, fantastic from Manchester City, the respect that they showed Julian Alvarez. Making a video for him, a goodbye video, is just a real indication of how fantastic this club is and how we respect our players in the door and out the door. Obviously, City fans as well, I think majority of us, the ones that go to the match as well, I remember we used to, pretty much all of the players that returned to Manchester City, more often than not, they were getting applause and respect for the service that they provided to Manchester City. And the only reason they ever didn't is because they gave it a bit of that on their way out of the door. I'm thinking James Milner. Sterling gave it a little bit of that. And I think a lot of City fans didn't hear some of the stuff he said because he gets a lot of respect. What he did in a City shirt, yep, good. But he did give it a bit of that, talking about the attitudes of certain City players and just how much he wanted to win trophies in a Chelsea shirt, and he wasn't getting what he wanted in Manchester City. A little bit too much of that in the interview. I wasn't too pleased with that interview that he did with Jeff Shreves. But anyway, separate point. Alvarez very much respectfully left Manchester City. He had very kind words to say about us on his way out of the door as well. But we move on. we move on, and it's sad to see him go, but we have to move on as fans. Now, replacement for Alvarez, the idea that we could be an initial loan, that's just up in the air. That's just open-ended, isn't it, as you can possibly be. That could be anybody. Would be interesting to see who City target. So we've got potential replacement for Alvarez, could be a loan. We've got a potential cover for Rodri with Adam Wharton. If Cheeky gets a itchy trigger finger and decides to pull the trigger this summer, we could be going for Adam Wharton. Rodri, new contract. Ederson, new contract. It's absolutely fantastic news all round, really. The only bad news today is Alvarez has left, and we all knew that was happening. But other than that, could be a good summer transfer for Manchester City. The best news for me, Rodri, new contract deal being offered to him. Let's pray to God that this man accepts. I hope Rodri accepts that. Is Adam Wharton the ideal cover for Rodri? Do you believe in that? And who would be your potential pick for an Alvarez replacement? With the initial loan being open-ended, you can have your pick of pretty much any youngster out there that will be willing to don the shirt of Manchester City. Get in the comments below, let us know your thoughts, like and subscribe to Typical City, and I'll see you in the next one.
This is Typical City now, holding up